All right, I'm going to make for you a large loaf of white bread. I've pre-measured a lot of the ingredients, so I'll go ahead and explain the amounts of each ingredient as I go. Something to take note of, or a couple things to take note of. First of all, it's really important what flour you use. So this is the one I typically use for plain white bread. Bob's Bread Meal, highly recommend it. It's made specifically for bread, so it has the right amount of gluten, and therefore it has like a higher level of protein, which is better for you. And then I always use Anthony's active dry yeast, and I get this in like a 42 package from Amazon, not the quick rise, just the active original. All right, so I've pre-measured a tablespoon of sugar, put it in a larger bowl, and into the bowl is going to go 2 packets of the dry yeast. And then I'm going to add to that 2.5 cups of not hot but warm water. If you make your water too hot, it will kill the yeast. So try to get the right temperature here. Feels pretty good. All right, there's 1. 2. And a half. Now, it might be that I have to add some more water for the right consistency of the dough as it mixes. If I do, I'll add a tablespoon at a time so that I don't put too much water into the mix. And the way I'll know I need to add a little bit of water is if the dough ball doesn't pick up all the flour within the bin. So I am going to be using a bread machine, but just to do the kneading of the dough and proofing of it for the first run. I'm not going to bake it in here. I'm going to bake it in a special Pullman pan and in my oven. Oven has been preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll leave it there until we're ready to put the bread in, and then we'll put the temperature at 375 degrees for baking at 30 minutes. Right, so for my yeast, tablespoon of sugar, and 2.5 cups of warm water mix, I'm going to go ahead and use a fork just to kind of dissolve all the yeast and sugar into the water. Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to let that yeast mixture proof for 10 minutes. I set a timer for it. In the meantime, I'm going to put a tablespoon of regular, or I use the pink Himalayan salt, so a tablespoon of that into my bread pan, and 2 tablespoons of sugar into my bread pan that I pre-measured. Kind of mix them up, and then I'm going to start adding my flour, and this recipe calls for 6.5 cups of flour, so I'm going to go ahead and measure that out. It doesn't have to be exacting in your measurement, so close as you can, but I wouldn't get hung up on it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a very big loaf of bread. 6.5. There we go. So we got our flour measured out. And then I'm going to take the back side of my measuring cup, and I'm going to put a dimple in the center of my flour mixture. Just like that. Kind of making a little well. And into that, I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And then as soon as my yeast is done proofing, I'm going to go ahead and add it in. Got another 5 minutes. It's been about 10 minutes, and our yeast, I'll show it to you, it is very foofy, just the way we want it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the bread pan. Scrape the sides here. And then just because this is such a large loaf, I'm going to go ahead and kind of pre-mix it and pull all the flour from the sides of the pan and into the center, just to make sure that we get it really incorporated as much as I reasonably can, and it's a little easier on the bread machine motor for this particular heavy loaf. All right, looks pretty good, nice and gooey. Oops. Might need to, as it's mixing, check it and make sure that it's clean. It's cleaning up the sides of the pan, and kind of make a decision if you need to add a little bit of water or not. And if you do, just a little bit at a time. Like I said, 1 tablespoon would work out just fine. All right, so I'm gonna set this machine to do dough only mode. And what it's going to do is it's going to take about 1.5 hours to mix, then knead the dough, and then it will heat up the inside of it so that it rises really well. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Pullman pan. So this is a bread pan, and I'm going to, you can get them on Amazon. And I'm going to spray the inside of it with some canola spray, just so that the bread doesn't stick to it as it bakes. Give it a good coat. And then I'm just going to set it aside. Okay, so that is the dough after rising for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out now. That's pretty nice stuff. Okay, I'm going to do a couple things here, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I've got the bread machine out of the way now, and I'm going to grab some flour. So that I can put the dough out and get all the air out by punching it down. So this gets some all-purpose flour. Take this dough out. I let gravity do the work. There we go. Nice giant mound of dough. We're just going to kind of push it out, push all the air out, that is. Put it in half, fold it in half, that is. Roll it, tuck the ends in, kind of scrunch it a little bit. Place the formed dough into the pan. Now we're going to move it over to the stovetop, and then I'm going to grab some saran wrap. So I've got some saran wrap here, and just going to lay it on top loosely, and then I'm going to grab some canola oil spray and just spray the center like that. That's so the top of my dough as it rises doesn't stick to the saran wrap. Then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to seal each side so that it's an airtight barrier. Kind of push this forward a little. And then I'm going to take my clean tea towel and drape it over. This is the stove vent in the back, so I'm going to kind of tent it a little bit so that the dough gets the benefit of the heat coming out of the oven. All right, it's been about 30 minutes that our bread has done its second rise in the pan. Voila, it's doubled in size. Go ahead and remove this saran wrap. Should probably score the top of it. We're going to have to get some special assistance for that. So we'll be right back. That should look really nice when it comes out. So let's go ahead and put it in the oven. It's going to bake for 30 minutes. Oh, there we go. Center of the rack. And we have it set to 425, but we're going to now reduce the heat to 375. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
Hard to see, but it's in there. It's time to take it out of the oven. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Here we go. On a cooling rack. Right. And slide it on its side. And then put it the right way up. It's a nice loaf. Now we're going to add some butter to it. Right on the top of it. Give it a nice butter top so it's nice and soft and shiny. So I just took about 2 tablespoons or so of butter and just lightly rub it on the top so it'll melt it as it goes. And around the corners. Be generous. Get each of the little scores. And now we'll let it cool for about 30 minutes and then we'll slice it.